All right, welcome everybody. We're going to go ahead and start with the program. Welcome everybody. I don't know if everyone can see this sign painted on the wall that we inherited from Dixon Valve. It says raw non-conforming material area. But I think it's fitting that what was once proudly donned, this raw non-conforming material area, is a place that we're hoping to create a lot of innovation within. It's a place with so much history and patina and potential. So it strikes me kind of seeing everyone here and taking a look at this building that this is so Chestertown and it is so Kent County. We've seen this story before. It's a building rich with history, standing perhaps on its last legs, overgrowing with weeds. You can see some growing in the back wall. And yet it's calling forth this kind of dynamic group of caring and innovating people who are coming together to build something new, something to meet the moment, and something to pass on to future generations. We've seen it happen at Sumner Hall, at the Star Center's Custom House, at the Vince and Leslie Raymond Kent Cultural Alliance building, at the Wharton Point Schoolhouse Museum, at the Menary's Dream Alliance headquarters, and dozens of other buildings around the county and region. There's something in the history of these spaces that stirs our dignity, our grit, and our imaginations. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Pat Nugent. I'm the Director of Civic Engagement here at the college's Star Center for the Study of the American Experience. And over the last 2 years, it's really been my honor to build this new position with a lot of other people on campus and in the community to really kind of answer and explore the question, how can the college best leverage its resources, its teaching, and its research to create civic impact? And I think the innovation plan is clearly one of the largest initiatives on that front. It's a place where we hope to catalyze educational and economic opportunity, empowering our region through access to tools and technology and expertise, an inclusive space that will bring users of all ages and backgrounds together to develop and innovate together. Before we get going, I want to tell you how much of a pleasure. I wasn't sure whether I should say please RSVP me directly to the emails that I sent out, but I decided to do that because I just wanted to get a sense of who really was interested, and I tried to reply individually, although briefly, to everyone that emailed me, and it was such a pleasure. It was a pleasure to work with colleagues also to prepare for tonight. In particular, I want to thank my Star Center and Chesapeake Heartland colleagues who brought in the truck and set up exhibits on the history of this space. That includes Adam Goodhart, Carolyn Brooks, Airlie Ringgold Johnson, Chrissy Sinatra, and Molly Straight. If she's here, I think she had to leave early. Also, Raven Bishop from Miller Library's Virtual and Augmented Reality Studio with her student NY Callaway, who set up and has been building out a virtual and augmented reality project about this site. Dean Keo Kim and Susie Chase and other senior leaders who have been supporting this project. And lastly, the team who's really been the steering committee on campus for this project, and that includes Brian Palmer, Caddie, Putnam, Rankin, Charlie Kem, and Michael Harvey. And most importantly, I want to give a big kind of thank you to the many students who showed up today to put on display their research that's really stemming from this site. So if we could give them a hand as well. And lastly, I want to thank you all for being here. This is way more than we imagined in terms of the energy kind of entering the room. And what a wonderful coalition of stakeholders. Just to give you a sampling of what's out there and the diversity of interests and passions that are in this room tonight. In addition to the staff, faculty, and students from the college, we have representatives and leaders from local K through 12 and community colleges, town and county government, including elected officials, leaders from private enterprise and economic development, food, housing, and social services, religious institutions, public arts and humanities, libraries and parks, local neighborhood groups, and perhaps most meaningful to me, several former staff members of Dixon Valve and Vita Foods, as well as their descendants who worked in this space as well as the buildings that were recently torn down. If you worked in this space, in this building or the buildings attached to it, or your parents or grandparents, uncles and aunts, would you mind just kind of briefly raising a hand? Yeah, thank you. Many of them we interviewed on site, either in this building or in the other buildings prior to demolition, and we have roughly 12 oral histories of folks recalling their days working here. Okay, so as we kick things off tonight, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce to you Thad Bench, who has just taken on the honor of chairing the Strategic Advisory Board for this project, and he's generously made a $200,000 leadership gift to get a directorship of this facility up and running in the not too distant future. Thad is a member of the college's Board of Visitors and Governors, as well as the founder of Benchworks Health Group, an entrepreneur who grew this marketing and branding firm sixfold while it was here in Kent County, a CEO who hired dozens of local employees, including many Washington College alums. Thad's passionately committed to seeing an innovation plant grow and succeed and to benefit both the campus and the community. And he's had a lifetime of experience as an entrepreneur and a mentor. So please join me in welcoming Thad Bench.
Thanks for being here. Yeah, appreciate it. Well, thank you very much for that warm introduction, and this is so exciting to see so many people here. Thank you for taking the time and the energy and the headspace to come here and do this. One thing I've got to do, I was in this building about, I don't know, year and a half ago. Brian, where are you? You're right there, okay. So the electric boat project, right? The very first thing that comes out of this space wins a world record, right? It also, we have thoroughly beaten many of the most prestigious colleges in electric boat regattas. I am not a superstitious person, but that is a good omen of what can come from this place. So Brian and team and others that were participating in that, thank you, and I think it's just a sort of a signal of what can come. So as we come here together, the thing, and I'm going to keep my remarks very brief because we have a lot of material to go through, and more importantly, we want to hear from you what your ideas are for this space and what we can make here. But I would just encourage you to think big, to push the realm of the possible. And that is something I think when we harness that sort of energy and really let that sort of imagination go, great things can happen. So what we want to talk about here through the course of the day, and I've had an opportunity as Pat mentioned, we sold our business, and I'm really going to be leaning in more into the college to try to help wherever I can and elsewhere in the community, is to say, what can we do to make this a win-win-win? So not just 2 wins, 3 wins. It's going to be a win, certainly, for our students, because our students can come here and learn very practical skills and make their own dreams come to life with some of the resources from the college, input from the community, and then go out into the workplace being far better prepared to excel. And I have had the privilege of working with many Washington College graduates. I've hired quite a few of them over the years, and they are exceptionally well prepared. This will only make them more prepared. For the community to be able to leverage the resources of the college, some expertise, then that also is going to be a tremendous win. And hopefully it brings economic prosperity and vision and allow folks to pursue their dreams. And also for our faculty. I will tell you that any college is just bricks and mortar. What makes a college special, and particularly a college like Washington College, is the faculty and administration and staff here. So for them to be able to come and spread their wings and do some things where we take a practical place like this, a place of work, which is obviously what this is, and combine that with a top 100 liberal arts education, it's extraordinary. what we can do. So I hope that you'll take part in that, and I think this manifests itself. In the past, and not necessarily so much here at Washington College, but this idea of town gown and there's this ivory tower or a gate at the campus, that is gone. Particularly here at Washington College, it is tremendously important for the college to be fully integrated with our local community here. We need your help to make this plant a success. And so anything that you can do, principally your ideas, your energy, and then obviously if you can make a financial contribution that's commensurate with your financial situation, that would be greatly appreciated. But know that everyone here will work as hard as they possibly can to make this a very special place and to fulfill the promise and build on the work ethic that is so manifest. If you go over here and take a look at these pictures and think about the work ethic and the dedication that went into that, we would be well served to echo those sentiments from the folks that preceded us. So with that, Pat, I'll turn it back over to you, and thank you very much, and we look forward to getting to work.
Okay, so tonight, the general idea is we interviewed, focus group, surveyed 800 people in our community. The general idea here is to report back what we found and to continue to engage in the conversation and building process. Here's an outline of what we have ahead. For those, some of you have heard this, some of you know it way better than I do, more intimately than I do, but I want to give a brief overview of the potential of this site, both the building and 800 High Street. My colleague Sara Clarke-De Reza, who I failed to mention in my first list of the steering committee team, will give a review of the stakeholder engagement study, and then we'll give a review of kind of some developments that have happened over the summer, as well as work ahead and opportunity ahead that I think many of you will be excited about. And then lastly, we want to do an engagement activity with you and open the floor for Q&A as well. So a brief history of 800 High Street. Forgive me if you've heard this before, but I think it's useful for us to consider the opportunity here. So the 11 acres that surround this building were gifted in 2020 by Dixon Valve to Washington College. And this site and the 11 acres are really the greatest asset of the innovation plan. As one of two preserved buildings on the 11-acre site, this will stand as a bridge to collaboration. As you know, the property's central location within Chestertown will serve as a new entryway to the college, connecting the campus to downtown's main corridor and its centers of business, arts, government, and nonprofit activity. It's surrounded by a historic African-American neighborhood and a bustling community, complete with an elementary school, public library, several churches, and dozens of small businesses. And it is abutted by a rail-to-trail bike and pedestrian path that can connect uptown and the college to the waterfront. In short, we sit right here at a critical intersection for the college's and community's future. The history of the property is also a great opportunity for the project. And while it has been transformed repeatedly over the past 120 years, the site has consistently been a space of industry, workforce development, diverse employment, and cultural exchange. Between 1940 and 1973, for example, Vita Foods employed hundreds of workers at a time, the majority of which were African Americans who ran the pickle, fish, and onion lines spread throughout the facility. This was a distribution center, from what I can gather, where boxes were loaded and unloaded onto trucks. The work was hard and dangerous and unpleasant, but compared to the alternatives, former employees have described Vita Foods' workplace as quote-unquote liberating and transformative. Over the past 4 years, the college has collaborated with many to document and digitize and interpret that history. The results of these efforts reveal how the property's past is really a powerful mobilizer of community pride and action. It's also led to the collection of hundreds of historic images on display in part over to your right, oral history interviews, preserved artifacts, and just prior to the rest of the building's demolition, we had a company called Direct Dimensions offer pro bono to 3D scan the entire building. So we're sitting on this data that is, you could essentially create a Pixar movie in the entire industrial plant moving forward, or perhaps a 3D museum or who knows what. Architects will also be able to use that information. And ultimately, we want to create public exhibits and architectural designs that honor and engage former staff members and their descendants. So what's also interesting is these digital assets, as you can see on the right, will lend themselves to workforce development for our high schoolers as well. So think anything from audiovisual production to GIS, digital design, 3D modeling, virtual and augmented reality. These are the skills that many of our high schoolers want. They're interested in gaming design, music production, et cetera, and we have raw materials that they can use to both celebrate the place and kind of further their careers. So in sum, 800 High Street is broadly recognized as kind of a pivotal hub. It's a keystone property with a rich history and a bright future. Diverse and dynamic stakeholder interest was crystallized for us in the spring of 2024 when we launched our stakeholder engagement study, which Dr. Clarke-De Reza will tell you more about now.
Hey everyone. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. My goal is to briefly summarize a huge amount of data and start to tell you the story of the feasibility assessment, right? We set out in collaboration with community partners and students at Washington College, faculty and staff, to undertake a semester-long stakeholder engagement process where we could explore existing models for innovation hubs, social impact labs, maker spaces. We could conduct stakeholder research with a wide range of community members and bring, in collaboration with students and community, bring that data together and propose some initial visions for what this Quonset hut, this 800 High Street property could become. Many of you joined us at the end of last semester when our students gave their preliminary proposals, and we've taken all of that information, synthesized and summarized it, and have created a document that we'll share with you tonight. We have paper copies in the back, as well as a QR code in this presentation that is the totality of this initial feasibility assessment. So as Pat mentioned, in last spring, Pat, Caddie, Putnam, Rankin, and I, in partnership with Brian Palmer and Charlie Kem and lots of folks at Washington College, designed a course called Community Stakeholder Engagement. This course had a couple of course objectives. We wanted students to learn how to undertake a community stakeholder project, to learn how to collect and analyze data in service of creating a feasibility assessment or doing some important community planning. This class was made up of these fabulous students here. I will tell you, many of these students are in the room today. So if you are a student in this class, perhaps you could raise your hand so everyone can look at you and be proud. Okay, yeah, woo. Okay. You might be like, hey, I know some of these students, they look like Washington College students, or you might be like, wait a second, some of these students look like members of my local government. What are they doing at Washington College? Well, this class was designed to include both community members and students working together. Our students are in the classroom all the time, sort of practicing and building these skills, and our community members want to learn similar sorts of stakeholder engagement skills, but brought with them just a wealth of knowledge and experience that was invaluable. Working together with many hands, we were able to undertake a truly tremendous process. I should put this in this order. So we engaged with more than 800 members of the Washington College, Chestertown, and Kent County community to help answer questions about what the space could become to serve its best purposes for all constituents. We made a major effort to make sure that the community was equal or overrepresented in the sample, and you can see that across interviews, focus groups, and surveys, as well as a series of community meetings like this, we had just an incredible number of voices represented in this process. So I'll ask this question of this group. If you were interviewed, participated in a focus group, took a survey, or have previously attended a community meeting, how about you raise your hand? Okay. So many of you are here again, and we thank you. And for those of you who don't, we're going to provide you an opportunity tonight to continue to provide us feedback and shape this still unfolding process. So if you're here, you know who we talked to, but let us tell you who else we talked to. We worked to make sure we were engaging with folks from education, from nonprofit, local businesses, local government, public schools. As Pat mentioned before, folks who had worked at Dixon or Vita Foods and their descendants and family members, community members, other educational enterprises like the library, a really wide-ranging group of voices contributed to this conversation. And so I want to show you my QR code, which I will wait patiently while you scan. So taken together, we analyzed and brought together all of this data in service of creating a feasibility study. So a feasibility study basically looks at the vision for a program or opportunity like the innovation plant, and then lays out proposed plans for staffing, budget, marketing, and sort of many other things. And you'll see those all. It's quite a lengthy document. I always tell my students, I like hand the readings out before I start talking about them because they're going to start reading. So wait to read it. I'm going to give you the highlight reel right now, and then we can talk more about details moving forward. There are also some folks I know prefer a paper copy. We didn't print 100 paper copies, but there are some paper copies in the back as well. So taken in sum, the message that came from all members of our community was really clear. The establishment of a robust, active, and interdisciplinary space will be instrumental to shaping the shared economic, social, and educational goals of Washington College and the surrounding region. Our analysis fell out into sort of 5 main themes, and I'm going to briefly walk through those with you now. First and foremost, people that we interviewed, focus grouped, and surveyed really picked up on this theme that Dr. Nugent led out with tonight, which is that by virtue of the space and its history, its physical location, we had to think about all projects moving forward as being opportunities to truly connect the campus and community in a way that serves true mutual benefit for all participants. Hold on, I'm flipping ahead in my notes. One of the major themes that came out in this conversation was the idea that we needed to create a third space. Now, this is a phrase that means something very specific, and I thought it was kind of an academic concept, but we heard it from lots and lots of people from a bunch of different groups. Essentially, people want a welcoming space where they can come and be together to do things, where there's not an expectation to buy something or to create something, but rather just a space sort of for community and togetherness. That theme was highly present in our conversation, and in a couple of minutes when I turn to some proposals for the actual organization of the physical space, I think you'll see the way that that has shaped our plan. We asked folks what kind of stuff they would want to do here. This is a far-ranging list. I think the font is pretty small, from incredibly high-tech to very low-tech and practical things. You can see, I hope you can start to see even just from looking here, an emergence of skills related to workforce development of a wide variety of kinds, a real demand for commercial kitchen space, as well as access to computers and opportunities to do things like photo, audio, and video editing, alongside more traditional maker activities like textile and woodworking work, 3D printing, and metalworking. We asked folks what kind of skills they expected to develop in a place like this, and you can see a wide range. People are looking for an opportunity to receive training in those areas, to prepare themselves and other members of the community for jobs, starting businesses, particularly businesses with civic engagement or sort of a social entrepreneurship angle. All of these taken together we see as key drivers of economic development. A third theme that was incredibly prevalent in the data was the need to create meaningful opportunities for young people. At Washington College, we think of our students as young people, but in general, when we were talking to community members, the focus tended to be on high school, middle and high school students, and a real lack of opportunities for them to be engaged in after-school programming or other sort of self and professional development opportunities. So the request to create this space, particularly in relationship to like intergenerational mentorship, bringing young people who need something to do, who have a desire to learn something and grow, into meaningful connection and conversation with the many people in the community who have skills and time to offer in support of those efforts, was a common refrain. As you saw in the mission statement that Dr. Nugent read just a moment ago, this idea of social impact is going to be a key organizing concept. How can we create not just for the sake of creating, but in a way that brings positive impact to self and others, to the community, and to the world? In general, we think this kind of social impact work tends to happen when people are together. And so you'll see that the social part of this means not only impacting society, but sort of made in relation and in social exchange with other people. And finally, we had a strong theme, perhaps unsurprisingly, based on what you've seen and heard tonight, of the importance of sort of embracing and acknowledging the history of this place and maintaining that history through some continuity of practice. We asked folks what they thought the best way to honor the legacy of Dixon Valve and Vita Foods would be here. And very few people said you need to keep all the buildings in place to make that happen. More than anything, what people desired, right, was visual commemoration, sort of exhibits like you're seeing us start to unfold here. And perhaps more importantly, a maintenance of that legacy through carrying on diverse labor practices, opportunities for craftsmanship, workforce development, and economic mobility, which have really been a core component of this, this property for as long as it's been developed. One interviewer, this is one of Pat's favorite quotes, one person we interviewed said, "Can you bring back Vita Foods?" Now, this person didn't actually want us to call Vita Foods and invite them back to build a plant here, right? But was asking if it would be possible, right, to generate in that space that same energy, that same enthusiasm, those same real opportunities for people as have been present in other versions of its history. So what will this look like? Well, you're in it right now. You can see a little bit where we're starting, what it looks like now. But as we looked at the vision and values we hoped to instantiate in this space, we start to develop a set of ideas that can come to an architect for a further plan. We know that the space needs to have an inviting exterior. It needs to be meaningfully accessible to the rail trail, to parking, to walking, to the campus, and it needs to feel like a place that folks are welcome to be. That extends to an interior space with a welcoming and open lobby with ease of access and widely available usage. We imagine that there will be classroom and meeting spaces for campus and community collaboration, for classes, etc. We also know that to support our artists and entrepreneurs, student and community alike, we'll need shared and private workspaces that can be used to advance people's businesses and their art and their dreams. As you saw in the earlier slide, there's a real demand for community kitchen space, and perhaps as an outgrowth of that, cafe space or other sort of food-oriented together spaces. Space for AV and computing technologies, and I think importantly, the sort of staff and support to make those meaningfully accessible to people who have different ranges of skills. And then finally, some more of the more traditional makerspace activities that you see already sort of set up here: woodworking, rapid prototyping, metalworking, and the tools required to do that kind of work. If it sounds like a lot for this small space, I sometimes think that too, but I think as Dr. Nugent will come back and tell us in a moment, next steps move us towards sort of an actual architectural plan with folks who know how to make amazing spaces like this happen in a footprint like the one we have available to us. So in closing, I'll just invite you again to look at this very draft version of our mission statement, and hopefully you'll see and hear the sort of resonances of all that community data we collected built into this sort of guiding set of principles. Before I go, we'll have time to be up and about in a bit, but if you want more information, more specific data, some of what is on these boards here are data that we reported out in our earlier community meetings that come directly from that stakeholder engagement data. And if you ever want to talk about data at great length, I'm your person. But for now, I'm going to turn it back over to Pat, and thank you very much for your time.
That's good. I'm not Pat. Hi, I'm Caddie Putnam Rankin, Chair of Business Management. So of course they choose the business management faculty to talk about money, so I'm going to do that. I just want to share with you 3 things. So we want to talk about the resources that have already been committed to this project, the resources we're currently working on today and that are a part of what we're working on in our programming today, and then what's still to come. And certainly we have lots of opportunity for growth in that area, so any support you can help with, be that financial or support we're going to talk later about with all of our talents, that's really, really helpful to us. So I'm going to put this in 3 phases. As you came in on 800 High Street, you notice there's no more Dixon Valve plants, which used to be Vita Foods, right? So we were really fortunate to have a land gift from Dixon Valve and Coupling that was valued at over $5 million. So the actual gift of this land has allowed us to really think about what is going to go here and be really creative and innovative and forward-thinking and saying what's the next step for Washington College and this community. With that, right, we had to demolish that plant. We didn't do that lightly. We talked to a lot of people, and the consensus was that it would be better to rebuild something new rather than reuse and repurpose that building. So we had the gift from the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development to help demolish that space, as well as a matching gift from Washington College. I will say that that has committed us to rebuild with the community in mind. Thinking about market rate housing is one of the initiatives that the Maryland Department of Housing and Community Development wants us to do, so we're committed to doing that in the future. We don't know what that big space will look like, but we hope that you all will be part of that conversation. So phase 2 is, I think, where we are right now. We really, from that feasibility study, and that's sort of that second grant you see here, the TEDCO grant, we put together a feasibility study, which Sara talked about, and with that we were able to secure an additional grant from the Radcliffe Foundation of $1.8 million. That money, along with the Kent County Local Management Board, is supporting what we're doing right now. And so the Radcliffe Foundation, that grant particularly is for programming. Even though the innovation plan isn't realized yet, we have a space, but we don't have the space we want someday, right? We don't have all of the plans for that. We're starting programming, so you'll hear a little bit about that a little bit later. It's also going to help us with the architectural plans. So you're looking around, you saw that beautiful picture, I think that Sara put forward. And we have lots of ideas, and hopefully we'll hear more from you, but this space is going to be transformed. So it's going to be here, but it's going to look different, and it's going to be a vibrant space where lots of community can come together. Also with that Radcliffe grant, we have a mobile innovation lab. So this speaks to some of our other partnerships. We now have partnership with Chesapeake Community College to build that mobile innovation lab. So before we have the space in here where we can do the innovation and the making, we're going to come together with them to design a mobile, maybe a truck and trailer. We're not really sure what that's going to look like, but that gave us the funding for that as well. As I mentioned, the TEDCO grant, that gave us the feasibility study, some construction costs and staffing. And then the Kent County Local Management Board has committed to community engagement, furthering this community engagement process, which has been so exciting and vibrant, and continuing to plan for the future. So we're really grateful to that. Phase 3, this is what is to come, but this is some of the pledged and pending support. So we heard earlier we have now the support for an innovation plant directorship, which we need. Pat, he's wearing multiple hats and he's great. He's doing a great job and the team is doing a great job, but we really need someone dedicated 100% to thinking about what the future of the innovation plant will be. We also have additional Kent County Local Management Board pledges for money to help with the Governor Moore's Enough Act initiative. And also, we have, fingers crossed, we have been invited to the second round of $1 million grant from the Department of Commerce Build Our Future program. So we submitted a first round application and we have just been told, I think this week or last week, that we get to go forward to the second round. So it's pretty exciting. I will say that that's not going to be enough. It sounds like a lot of money. But this space is going to take more support, and so we'll continue to raise that. Also, we'll seek advice from you all of other places we can look for that support. We do have growing staff collaboration at Washington College. If your name is not here and you feel you're a part of the innovation plan, yes, you are, and we want you to be. So it's not everyone, but we do have a number of positions at Washington College that will help to support this grant and to support the plant going forward. So thinking about the staff support, certainly we need more people, but we do have some people who are aligned throughout the college to support this innovation plan and the future of it. So we have the support from the college, we're getting the support from you and the community and outside donors, and we're going to move forward so we can hopefully we can think of what's possible and think of the potential of this space. We look forward to the future success of it. So next, I'm going to hand this off, I believe, to Brian Palmer? No, back to Pat. We're not sure, we didn't rehearse, but here he is. Thanks.
Thank you, Caddie. Okay, so last stretch before we kind of take a break. One of the things I hope you're hearing is that one of our guiding approaches here is that our goal is not simply to build it and hope that they will come, so to speak. It is to build programming and partnerships as this space is being built out. This is one reason why we're here right now. We're not waiting. We don't want to wait 2 years, 3 years for this building to be built to build those partnerships. We want to start inhabiting, experimenting, collaborating both on-site and off-site to help make this space vibrant. And you'll see this as we discuss some of the work coming and some exciting opportunities. So one, we have architectural planning coming. We have some kind of limited construction to make this place usable in the meantime. We have community, kind of some structured community engagement coming forward. Two kind of advisory boards. One, a strategic advisory board focused on long-term strategy and fundraising, which Thad Bench will be chairing, and then also what we're going to call an Uptown Innovation Community Council. This is in collaboration with the local management board. This will focus on community members and community leaders associated with organizations, institutions, as well as local neighborhoods. But they will also have some real skin in the game, so to speak. They will be making decisions on curriculum innovation fellowships, on event planning and otherwise. And we want these two advisory boards to be communicating with one another, meeting with one another, holding each other accountable. And then last, you've heard a little bit about kind of how we're trying to move forward sustainability. A couple of other programs that I think you'll take interest in. One is the Mobile Innovation Lab. We are currently working on a collaboration, kind of starting to draft the MOU with Chesapeake College to create a flexible satellite classroom that will allow Chesapeake College to reach Kent County students here on site as well as with a Mobile Innovation Lab. We're really excited about that, and I know a lot of people in Kent County are, and a lot of K through 12, particularly high school students who can't quite reach Chesapeake College. Similarly, instructors at Chesapeake College want to reach, and this has the potential to really kind of triangulate the local high school, Chesapeake College and Washington College, in a really powerful collaboration. I'm particularly excited to kind of extend the work of Hip Hop Time Capsule, which has taken place over the last 4 years, with a summer program for high schoolers where we'll similarly work with paid high school interns who are also going to work with college interns, and they will create They'll develop workplace skills while they also plan and execute arts, designs, perhaps benches, perhaps gardens, to start to kind of make their mark on this space as well as surrounding areas. That's going to start this summer, and we have some monies through the local management board as well as through the Radcliffe Foundation to start bringing on high school interns. So if you know of a paid high school, or if you know of a high schooler who might want to engage in this project, we'll have paid internships for them to be available. And they might be doing wall murals or who knows what. We still have to figure that out, but I think we have a lot of creative people that might want to be involved. And I want to turn it now to Brian Palmer, who's the director of IdeaWorks, who will give an update on 2 things currently going on as well. Brian, thanks.
Thank you. If anybody knows me, you know that I could talk ad nauseum about these things, but I'm going to be very brief today. So to talk about the way we're currently utilizing the space and some of the plans that we have in the near future going forward, we'll just talk a little bit about 2 things, mainly the electric boat team. Hopefully you spoke with some of the folks, Max, Mac, David, and Douglas, and I'm not sure if anybody else came later, but thank you guys for coming and holding down the fort over there to answer your questions. And then also Second Life Wood Projects, which is a part of the Virginia Decker Arboretum here on the campus. And so to start off, we have a question that drives a lot of what's behind the electric boat team, and that is what weighs about 55 pounds and produces as much emissions as about 38 cars driving at 60 miles per hour. And believe it or not, the answer is a small boat like this. And it seems really strange, why could that be the case? But just to be brief, between the emission standards and the regulations requiring much, I guess, having this being a lot lower in boats and in boat engines compared to land-based vehicles, as well as there's been a lot more focus on cars, land-based vehicles and things with regards to the development and injection of money to try to improve those things and reduce emissions. And so because of that, we are finding that there's a bigger impact on the environment than you might realize when you're running an engine in a boat out on the water. And so being that we are right here on the Chester River and we're a part of the the Chesapeake Bay community as a whole, this is something that we are focusing some energy on to see if we can do something about. And so from that, we had the electric boat team that sort of evolved out of that sort of interest. And part of that was to explore some of these sustainable marine EV propulsion technologies, get the students firsthand and being involved in seeing what they could do with the current technology that's out there, as well as developing our own take on the way we're implementing some of these things. And then also, they were also interested in the idea of competing, going up against other organizations, companies, and then more recently up against colleges and in more of a collegiate competition. And so currently the electric boat team at Washington College is the #1 ranked collegiate team in the nation in what's called Promoting Electric Propulsion. It's an annual competition by the American Society of Naval Engineers. And there's about 40 colleges and universities around the nation that are competing in this, including some big names like Princeton University, Texas A&M, University of Michigan. So it's quite an accomplishment, and I think these guys should be really proud of what they've been able to do. Stepping away from that competition aspect, we were also looking at the other end from a race environment. What could we potentially be doing from a longevity standpoint? And so, I meant to start that earlier. Imagine that was going before. But so from that, we decided that there was a chance that we could break the world record for distance by an electric boat that was driven by electric propulsion on a single charge, no recharging, and no using solar to augment that as you're going along. And so we were looking at the trimaran that you had to walk by as you came in, that white-hulled boat. And that boat, the way it's designed, we knew that was the best of the things that we had to try this out with. And after doing a lot of testing out on the river and looking at what we've designed and figuring out how to implement that to be as efficient as possible, we devised a 3.5-day plan to go out on the Chester River. And you can see the map over here on the side that sort of shows that big triangular path. I heard a lot of people asking questions about why is this boat going up and down the river over and over again for these. So yes, that was us out there trying to break that world record. The previous record being set in 2001, just under 137 miles, and that stood for 23 years. until these guys came along and were able to break it at a little over 160 miles. So the boat was literally built right here in this building. The technology was all things that we were doing our own take on how to put that spin into that boat to make it be as efficient as possible. And so we have a student team who's very well qualified in this area, in this arena. So from a next step standpoint of the electric boat team, of course, we're interested in continuing to do the intercollegiate competition. We're building a new boat. They've changed the rules, so we have to kind of actually build something completely new for the April 2025 race. We've also begun doing some community outreach right here in Chestertown, and we're interested in the K through 12 space. And we're interested in getting to know other partners who would be interested in seeing if they can have us come in and work with them in the classroom and for presentations to do some, I guess, sort of STEM, excitement about building the next generation of STEM innovators from our own Kent County students here. So if anybody grab me afterwards, or there's also a clipboard immediately out through this opening here on the left-hand side. Anybody who can't grab me, just put your name on there and let us know that you're interested in that, so I can get in touch with you and we can figure out if that's something we could be doing with that. We also have some internal partnerships that we're doing that leverages what the students have been doing with the electric boat team. So 2 examples would be the Center for Environment and Society. We're working with them to design and build a zero-emission electric research boat for their fleet. We have this folding trimaran on the trailer right there now. Believe it or not, as rough as it looks, it's actually a very, very good candidate for that kind of repurposing. And so that's something that we might be using for that project. And so we're excited about what might come with that. And we're also working with Ben Arminger at the campus waterfront with designing and potentially building some wakeless coaches launches for the crew team as well. And then externally, we're looking at partnerships, a few different partnerships, but one in particular with Morgan State University. We've got a sizable group there who's been speaking with us about some larger scale projects that are related to this, and working with them to figure out how we could go about doing this in a way that sort of really promotes the electric propulsion and lets people see that the viability of this technology to help reduce that sort of carbon emission and pollution into our bays and rivers. The second project, and this one's much more brief, is talking about the Second Life wood projects and products. And so behind me here, you can see evidence of a tree that I think was about 113 years old. It was taken down after it had a significant storm damage on campus about 3 years ago, I think it was, about 3 years and a couple months ago. And so I had help from some students and some of our alum to get this wood all milled up using a couple of different techniques. And so we've been letting it basically sit and age and sort of let the wood prepare to be used for some of these projects. And so what this allows us to do is create essentially some sort of living, functional works of art as furniture, rather than having typically a tree falls, has to come down, whatever happens. And the easiest way to deal with these big pieces of wood is to either cut it up for firewood or grind it up for mulch or something like that. But these are pieces of our college's history, and beyond that, we're looking to see if we can do something more community engaging, where we're looking at the trees in the community as, again, pieces of the community history. And so how can that live on beyond its first life? And so what we're looking at doing is finding ways to reuse these pieces in that Second Life context. And so, again, this is an opportunity for all the participants to be involved in, yes, it's a woodworking program and you're learning about, the sort of workforce, how to use the tools and how to do these different kinds of things, but it's also an entrepreneurial endeavor where we are looking at the idea of how are we reaching out to the people who would be interested in this and leveraging the sort of rarity or scarcity of these trees that were part of our lives and part of the history of the town and of the college for so long, and having that added value be reflected in these products that we're making. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Pat, and he's going to continue with the rest of the presentation. So thank you, guys.
Okay, the last piece of, I think, kind of exciting developments that are going on now or about to go on is part of the Ratcliffe grant. We asked for $180,000 to encourage and reward innovative teaching across K through 12 schools, Chesapeake College, as well as Washington College, for teachers who are willing to innovate plan, and develop curriculum that will connect itself here. Those programs might take place off-site at first, but eventually they would feed into the development here. So this is not a small amount of money, right? This will fund 12 to 15 fellowships across 3 years for teachers, broadly defined. These could also be partners at nonprofits or otherwise who want to work with students on this type of making, innovation, entrepreneurship type projects. They would receive $4,000 planning stipend, $6,000 implementation stipend, and $5,000 for internships for students or equipment or otherwise. The idea here is to unlock collaboration and put our money where our mouth is when it comes to collaboration. So if you are a teacher or a leader of K through 12 or college students with interest in working on this, please be in touch with us. You can also we'll make a much broader blast once the official call for proposals is out. And those will come soon, and then the application will be due February 1st, 2025. And if you're interested in being on the selection committee there too, also let us know, because we have room for folks to review those applications and think about what will work best for our local students. So I'm really excited about this and look forward to seeing the ideas that it generates. All right. So what we want to do now is kind of just provide an opportunity for you all to check in with one another, to consider the questions here, or just kind of reflect on what we've been presenting. Kind of, you can jot it down. We'll have worksheets coming around with paper. You can decide to write down your responses to these questions, but really we just prefer you to kind of discuss what's bubbling up right now with one another, and then we'll open the floor for, in about 10 minutes, to kind of broader comments or questions. Also, please make sure to help yourself to food, coffee, etc. Sound good? All right, so I would say in groups of like 2 to 4, or however organically you want to break up. Make sure you're talking with at least a person or two who you don't know or didn't come with. Thank you.